Welcome back to the ballpark, everybody. My name is Steve Pratt, and we're about 12 or 13 minutes away from the start of today's game. The University of Maine, Orono, against the Maine Guides here at the ballpark. If you're on the way, you're in for a little bit of a wait outside. The parking lot is filling rapidly, and the cars have backed up a little bit in the driveway, waiting to get into the parking lot. But we'll not be starting for another 10 or 12 minutes, so you should be able to make it in without too much difficulty. If you're going to the will call window, however, be prepared to wait a little bit, as a lot of folks have decided to order their tickets and pick them up at the gate, and there's a bit of a line out there as well. But we still got some time before we get underway with the game, so shouldn't be too long before you're in the ballpark if you happen to be in the line listening to the radio on the pregame show as you're on your way in. Well, as I mentioned, we've got a guest for you here in the pregame show, and let's get to that interview right now. We continue now with the pregame show, and my guest is Len Harlow, the Director of Sports Communications for the University of Maine, and I guess that's appropriate, Len, for you to be on a radio broadcast with that kind of a title.
I think so. We have a lot to do with the types of communications that the university dispatches, and certainly with our athletic programs, I think it's relevant.
This is going to be a big night for the University of Maine, isn't it? There's going to be 5,000 people here, and a lot of people are going to be seeing UMaine baseball for the first time ever, perhaps, and the benefits are just going to be almost incalculable.
We're extremely pleased, as you know, to be here, Steve, because a lot of people in southern Maine can't make that trip up to Orono very frequently to watch us play, and then our home schedule is pretty shaky these days. We only played 9 games at home this season and 43 on the road. So people have not had an opportunity to watch us, even in the Orono area, not take into consideration the people in southern Maine. So this is a great thing for us to be able to come down here, show what kind of a ball club we have, and people can measure us against the pros if they want. But I think it just gives them a chance to see kids that they've read about and heard about but have never watched in performing.
And a couple of guys on this team, in fact, more than a couple, are from the Portland area. Of course, Gary Doobie in the lineup tonight, Gary LaPierre, both, well, one's from Portland, one's from Biddeford, and that gives the hometown folks a chance to see him.
Absolutely. There are a number of kids from the Portland area who have played in high school and in Legion ball down this way, and people are very familiar with them. We're really looking forward to tonight, Steve.
John Lincoln's done another great job for you this year. New England College record for number of wins, 37, I believe, and another good chance to go to the College World Series, which would be a 5th straight year. And you just got to be really pleased with the job he's done.
It's amazing, too, because this is a very young ball club. John has told me that this is the youngest team he has ever had in college, and that's over 30 years, 31 years. We have 15 freshmen or sophomores on this ball club. We didn't really figure to pile up this many victories this year, given our schedule, given the youth on the club. So it has been an excellent performance by these young players who have matured a lot faster than we had anticipated.
Len, one of the things that's going to happen tonight for the first time for some of these players is they're going to use wooden bats. And we were talking before, you said that many of them had never used one. Not really understanding the difference. I mean, I know the difference, but understanding what it feels like to swing one and not the other. Is it going to be very, very difficult, do you think?
Not really. I don't think that they get the carry off the bat that you do off the metal bats. And some of the shots that they hit with the metal bat that go out of the ballpark at Orono certainly aren't going to carry out here with a wooden bat. But I think that with the line drives, the ball in the hole, they won't see that much difference. I've noticed, I was watching batting practice here tonight, and several of our kids were hitting the ball very well with a wooden bat. It doesn't seem to be a real problem for them at this point.
What kind of a motive or incentive do you think that the guys are going to have tonight? Obviously, this could have been a night off. They perhaps are not looking forward to this game as much as the Black Bear players are. Not that the competition is going to suffer, because once the game starts, I think everybody will be into it. But do you think that the University of Maine team is going to have a bigger incentive and perhaps be a little more motivated?
Well, I think there's that chance, although I think with the professionals, there's always the matter of pride. Professional pride is an incalculable thing in any sport. I'm sure that members of the Maine Guides have that, and they want to go out there and have a good performance. I don't think they want to feel that they're being shown up by a group of collegians. So I think they'll play very well once they get out there on the field. I can understand that maybe this may have been the one break in a long series of games, and they would have spent the day at the beach. But I think once they get on the field and once they get between the lines, it's a game, and professional pride will take over.
One more question, actually a two-part question for you before we go. First of all, would you like to make this an annual affair? And second, would you like to play some regular league games or college games in this ballpark?
We talked a little bit to John Winkin about this, And yes, I think we would love to have this as an annual affair. You know, there are some benefits to us besides exposure from this. I think that there's a possibility we may get some revenue for an athletic scholarship, number one, and that makes it very attractive. And I think that we would like to do that. We would also like to invite a nationally recognized college team, perhaps to play here against us when the Guides were away, and maybe see if ESPN might broadcast the game and give us national exposure. I think that's not beyond the realm of possibility.
Well, Len Harlow, thanks very much for being my pregame guest and for talking with me on the pregame show. I'm going to give you a $15 gift certificate from Wormwood's, a nice seafood restaurant down the street here in Saco. I don't know if you've been there or not, but if you haven't, you're really going to enjoy it.
Oh, it sounds great, Steve. Thank you.
We'll be back with the starting lineups right after this.
If you are
Starting lineups for tonight's game between the Maine Guides and the University of Orono Black Bears, and leading off for Maine, playing left field, Gary LaPierre. LaPierre in left, batting first, hitting .345 through 50 games on the season. Batting second in right field, Rob Roy. Roy in right, batting second, hitting .331. Batting third and playing center field will be Bill McInnes. McInnes in center field, batting third, his batting average, .381 on the season. Batting fourth and catching will be Bill Reynolds. Reynolds, the catcher, hitting fourth, hitting .304. The designated hitter, Dan Kane, bats fifth. Kane, the DH, hitting in the number 5 spot. He's hitting a cool .361. And if you're getting the idea that the Black Bears have hit the ball very well this season, you're getting the right idea. They have a team batting average of .327. Batting sixth and playing first base will be Rick Bernardo. Bernardo, the first baseman, hitting .383. The shortstop, Mike Bordick, will bat seventh. He's hitting .289 on the season. Bordick, the shortstop, hitting seventh. Third baseman, Jim Overstreet, will bat eighth. Overstreet, the third baseman, hitting in the number 8 spot. Batting ninth and playing second base will be Gary Doobie, who's from nearby Biddeford. Doobie, the second baseman, hitting ninth. He's hitting .262 on the 1985 season. On the mound for the Black Bears, at least initially for John Winkin's club, will be Dale Plummer. 6'4" out of Bath, Maine. So far in the season, 5 wins, no losses, 1 save, a 1.99 earned run average through 11 games. And here's the lineup that Doc Edwards will go with against Plummer. Leading off and playing left field will be Dwight Taylor. Taylor in left, batting first. Hitting second and playing second will be Junior Noboa. Noboa, the second baseman, hitting in the number 2 spot. Batting third and in center field, Dave Gallagher. Gallagher in center, batting third. The cleanup hitter is shortstop Dan Roan. Roan at short, hitting fourth. The designated hitter to start the game will be Benny Ayala. He will bat fifth. Ayala, the DH, batting fifth, and Jim Wilson will fill in for him a little bit later on in the ball game. Batting sixth and playing the catcher position, at least initially, will be Kevin Buckley. Buckley then will switch to first base later on. Buckley catching to start the game and batting sixth. Hitting seventh will be Shaney Dugas. Dugas will start the game at third, later on move to short. Dugas, the third baseman, hitting in the number 7 spot. The first baseman tonight will bat in the 8th spot. That's Pat Dempsey. And Dempsey will switch around and catch a little bit later on, as manager Doc Edwards will use this game to do a little bit of experimenting and giving some of his players some experience at other positions. Dempsey, the first baseman to begin the game, and batting 8th. Batting 9th in right field will be Mike Brewer. Brewer in right, hitting in the number 9 spot. And on the mound to start the game for the Guides will be left-hander Ramon Romero. He will be appearing in his 3rd game since coming down from Cleveland, and this will be his first start, although it will not count in the official statistics. So the Guides and the Black Bears getting ready to do battle here. We've reached a couple of minutes after the 7 o'clock hour. We've run out of time during the pregame show. We'll be back with Maine Guides, Black Bears baseball in just a minute.
For the sharpest deals
Season.
You know, it's a good opportunity for me to come up here and sit with you and watch the ball game from a different point of view, and, you know, I enjoy it when I get to come up here and do this.
We were just talking during one of the breaks about the different atmosphere tonight, and certainly the biggest crowd of the season, but it's more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, there's sort of a playoff atmosphere to this game tonight. Last year when we were in the playoffs with Toledo and Pawtucket, it just seemed different from the regular season, and this, you know, there's just that carnival circus type atmosphere tonight, and it's just a different feeling for both clubs.
And it's very easy for the opposition tonight, the University of Maine Orono Black Bears, to get up for a game like this. It's something very, very special to them, whereas, you know, in the back of their minds, maybe the Guides aren't taking this one quite as seriously as the college team would.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, you know, I thought that would really be the case, but about the last 4 or 5 days, you know, we've been talking about the game, and there's been, you know, some publicity in newspapers, and it's, you know, we're not flat by any stretch of the imagination. I think both teams are ready. I guess the college team's a little more pumped than we are, but I wouldn't say that we're about to lay down by any stretch.
And I wasn't meaning to imply that at all either, because after all, you guys are professionals, and there is that some kind of a professional edge, just the pride that a professional takes in his work, and that certainly is a commodity that has to be dealt with too.
Oh, sure. Anytime you put the uniform on, you don't want to take the chance of being embarrassed. But these guys, the college guys are interested to see what the professionals are going to do against them. We're interested to see what the college team's going to do against us. So it's kind of a fill each other out for maybe a couple innings tonight and just see what happens.
Well, we have already seen what kind of a response the crowd is going to have. They just said they're going to announce the University of Maine Black Bears, and a pretty big ovation started up. And that doesn't really surprise me. I thought maybe the crowd might be 50-50 and maybe even a little bit more on the University of Maine side. Is that going to upset the guides at all?
I don't think so. I believe the crowd will probably be split tonight. It's University of Maine's been here a whole lot longer than we have, so there's fans from each side, so it's going to be interesting just to see how the crowd does react as the game goes along.
Just to get away from the game tonight, you're pitching tomorrow as International League competition resumes, and the guys have begun, or about a week into a stretch where they're going to play 72 games in the space of 70 calendar dates, and that gets to be a little tiresome after a while, and it's difficult to put an emphasis on any one game, isn't it?
Oh, sure it is. You have to look at the season as a 140-game season, so as far as one game affecting the whole way your year's going to go, you can't put that much emphasis on just one. So, but when I'm pitching, I have to take each one as like it's my last, or however you want to take it. So everybody takes the games in different ways.
Tomorrow, the Pawtucket Red Sox come to town for a brief 2-game series to close out what is in effect a 9-game homestand counting this game, and then the guides go on the road. Pawtucket's been struggling. The guides have been struggling at the plate, but really with a 15-12 record and a team batting average of 237 or 238 or whatever it happens to be right now, the guys on the team have to be pretty pleased to be only 3.5 games out and 3 games over 500.
No, sure. Our hitting has struggled just a little bit the last week or 10 days, but we've been getting some excellent pitching, and there's going to be times in the season when our pitching is going to stink, and the hitting is going to have to take over. So it just goes hand in hand, and you can't put too much pressure on the offense or the defense. So, like I said, 140-game schedule. So it's you just play one game at a time, and tomorrow night we may score 10 runs, we may not score any, but you can't really dwell on that. You just have to go as the game goes.
As I mentioned, Pawtucket's been struggling. They've lost something like 16 of the last 18 games. Is it too early for them to start worrying? You got 120 games left in the season or something. Is it too early for them to start panicking?
I don't think so. Last year, Pawtucket started out real hot. They were in first place for like the first third of the season, or first or second, because we were in first place most of the time. And then they sort of folded towards the end and ended up in fourth place, just barely making the playoffs. With a 120-game schedule, as many movements as you have in this, AAA level, you can't really tell from one week to another how a team's going to play. So you just from one series to the other, and you might face a whole different club. So you just have to wait to see who they bring to town to play you.
Well, the guys have certainly had their share of player movement. I believe it's up over a dozen now between being activated off disabled list, going on the disabled list, guys coming down from Cleveland, going up to Cleveland. And as Doc Edwards has said on numerous occasions, it's really difficult to establish any continuity with the lineup or the starting rotation when you're having that many players coming and going.
Well, at the first of the season, we had a couple of players that, joined us in Columbus that we'd never laid eyes on before, and it took us probably a week to get to know everybody and know how everybody plays, and then all of a sudden these movements start taking place, and it makes it difficult, but you're almost living with these guys 24 hours a day, so you learn each other quick, and there's a good camaraderie on our team, and I think there's nothing but good things for the Maine guys this year.
Well, we'll look forward to that. They're introducing the University of Maine lineup and backup players out on the field now, and I don't know if they can do the same thing with the guys or not,
I'm not sure. They told us they were, but I'm not sure whether they're going to or not.
Well, the crowd's still coming in. There's still a huge line outside waiting to get into the parking lot even, and I'm sure there's still a line outside, and they're going to drag this out as long as they can, so we'll oblige them by dragging out our pregame comments as long as we can. Now the guides are being introduced. Doc Edwards coming out. Jerry, what's been your assessment of the team so far?
I've been real impressed with our club. I said from the beginning that I thought we had a better club than we did last year, and last year's club was, I thought, probably the best in the league. So only time's going to tell whether that's going to be true or not. But we have some guys that have unbelievable talent. Our pitching has really been coming around. So there's no telling how many good things we can do this year.
Now, we haven't seen Rochester or Syracuse yet. Syracuse has done very well early on. Rochester has struggled. But based on what you've seen of the other teams in the league, is there any club that impresses you more than the other? Of course, leaving the guides out, obviously. But do you see any other club that might be head and shoulders above the rest?
Not really. I was very impressed with Richmond. They're a club that doesn't have a lot of long ball power, but they have a club that'll scrap and score runs any way they can. And, they beat me in Richmond, and I was very impressed with them. I don't know how they're going to do over the course of the season. I haven't seen Syracuse yet. I know the players that they have, most of them are back from last year. And they had a good club last year and just had some bad breaks. So I'm anxious to see how they're going to match up against us.
The guys have, as I said, 2 games coming up in this homestand and then hit the road for a week. Jerry, you've been in this league a couple of 3 seasons, and you're getting to the point now in your career where you're at a disadvantage. We talked to Roy Smith in the pregame show last night, and he's only 23, but he's in a tough position too because he can't be called up like Cleveland. To make it to the big leagues this year, he has to be traded, which puts him in a rather awkward position. But you, on the other hand, you've had a couple of shots in the big leagues. You've certainly pitched well this year, but you're in a tough spot too.
Oh yeah, it's. You can go down our entire roster, and everybody has their own little, we call them sob stories, the sad story why they're not in the big leagues or why they're not doing this. And it's hard to put your finger on why one guy's there and another guy's not. Somebody like Roy, who I've played with for 4 seasons now, only being 23, frozen. It's going to be tough for Roy, but I think after this season, if he puts some good numbers on the board, somebody will pick him up, and he can definitely pitch in the big leagues.
And then the Indians bring in a couple of guys that, for example, Brian Clark, who is not going to stay in Maine for the rest of the year, obviously. His whole purpose of being here is to get in shape so he can pitch in Cleveland. And that is good for him, obviously, but it also makes some of the younger players feel like, hey, what about me? I paid my dues in the Indians organization. How come they're bringing this guy in? And not that there's any animosity toward Brian, because it's certainly not his fault, but doesn't that also, if not bring out bad feelings, it makes it a little bit tough on some of the younger guys who maybe like a shot?
Well, when I was first starting out, I used to put too much emphasis on player movement, and I would watch the papers and see how people were doing that type of thing. You can't put too much emphasis on what a club does. All you can do is go out there day after day and do your best, and just feel, in your heart that if you do well, that you will get a shot sometime or the other. You just can't, if you start pressing and worrying about it, you're going to, defeat your own purpose.
Well, it looks like we're just about set for the start of this evening's game. The University of Maine and the Maine Guides, the crowd's still coming in and will continue to do so. It should be a complete sellout. They'll probably be selling standing room only tickets, but they'll be in fact, they are selling standing room only tickets. I see they're starting to fill up in the grassy area beyond the Guides bullpen, and they'll probably do the same thing down in the other bullpen as well. So why don't we step out now for our final break before the game, and we'll be back with Maine Guides, University of Maine baseball right after this.
If you're ready for delicious...
And now live from the ballpark in Old Orchard Beach, it's time once again for Maine Guides Baseball. A pleasant good evening, everybody, and certainly pleasant describes the evening here at the ballpark, as we have just a great night for a baseball game, and Jerry Reed will be providing the color commentary for me tonight. And Jerry, based on the weather we've had so far this season, this certainly has to be one of the best nights we've had.
I can't say enough about the weather we've had this season as compared to last year. We'd come out last year and it would be sunny like this, and then we'd get fogged out. So we're having a great time with this weather.
Certainly it's been sunny. It's been a little on the cool side, but I guess you'll take cool and sunny as opposed to to damp and foggy anything.
Oh, yeah, this is perfect baseball weather, nice of a day so you can get out and enjoy yourself and come to the ballpark, and it's, 50 degrees, which is perfect.
What do pitchers prefer when it comes to weather? Would they rather it be a little bit on the cool side as opposed to, say, the field players that might like a little warmer when they're standing out there watching you do all the work?
No, sure. A pitcher, once he gets warm in the bullpen, it doesn't matter what the temperature is, he's warm for the rest of the night. The guys that have to go out here and stand around in the outfield and the infield have to come in here and hit, they're the ones that struggle. So it's to a pitcher's advantage the colder the weather is.
And I guess the field players really appreciate it when there's a pitcher on the mound who works quickly and throws a lot of strikes, don't they?
Yeah, we have those little heaters in a dugout, and everybody just comes running in and sits around those things, so nobody wants to stand out there in the field for too long.
Well, we've got a great night for a ball game. Normally at this time I say if you're in the area, why don't you drop in, but I'm not sure we'd find a place for you here this evening, as it's still a long line out in the driveway, so to speak, waiting to get into the parking lot. A lot of people have decided to park out in the hinterlands and walk in. There are quite a few people walking, but we have not started the game yet. In fact, we will just about to be ready to take the field. The guides now will be taking the field any minute now, and Ramon Romero will take the mound for Maine. Jerry Ramon hasn't had an awful lot of work since coming down from the Cleveland Indians. This is a good opportunity for him to get 4 or 5 innings in.
Oh, sure. He, didn't get but just a few innings in Cleveland. He came down, was a little rusty, and he pitched against Richmond, could not throw strikes. So Doc's just been trying to work him in where he can, and this is a perfect opportunity for Ramon to get some work in.
But other than that, though, the guys don't have an awful lot of pitchers down there in the bullpen, and I think they really like to get about 5 innings out of him so they don't have to go to the well and use some of those relievers. Doc had to use 2 relievers in yesterday's game, and he certainly doesn't want to use Jeff Barkley in a game like this when he'd like to bring Jeff in every other day and get a save late in the game against Pawtucket or later on in the upcoming week.
No, you can't use your entire staff in a game like this, which really doesn't mean that much as far as the season goes. I think Ramon's out there to live or die. If he does well, he's going to be out there. If he doesn't, he's just going to have to pitch, because we've got Tommy Rowe who can pitch tonight, and Jose Calderon who might come in and pitch a couple innings. So we're not going to dig too deep in that well, as you say, to get this game over with. So just have to wait and see and hope Ramon does real well.
I guess the guys will be just about ready to go to a 5-man rotation now. The off days are pretty much over for the year. Just 2 more coming up in July, and that's it. So, what's the not the rotation, but the regimen that a starting pitcher does? He pitches one day, and then he's got 4 days off, so to speak. But you're not really off during those days.
Well, as far as being off, and we come out the day after you pitch, and we run exceptionally hard on the day after you pitch. The next day, you hardly do anything. I mean, you come out and run every day, but we don't even think about that as work anymore. We just come out and do it like it's expected of us. But, we do just a little bit of throwing between starts and, just try to get a little bit of work in. But as far as any regimented stuff goes, we don't do a whole lot between starts. Just kind of relax and, just think about the next game a little bit.
You throw on the side, though, a couple of times, don't you, or at least once?
Well, some of us throw on the side, and some of us play long toss, which is when we get about 200 feet apart and throw to each other. So, each pitcher's different, and it just depends on the person.
Well, as you can tell by the building round of applause behind us, or in front of us, as the case may be, we're just about set for the start of the game as right-handed batting Gary LaPierre is set to step in. LaPierre got a big round of applause because he's a local guy. He's from Portland, 6 feet, 165 pounds, just a freshman. And if you heard during our pregame interview, Len Harwell said this is one of the youngest clubs in the University of Maine history. First pitch is on the way from Ramon Romero, and it's in for a strike, and we are underway. And the pitchers, of course, tonight, and I guess a lot of the players, too, would like to see a rather large strike zone.
I think the umpires are going to give us a large strike zone tonight. They, they want to see the batters have to swing the bat.
LaPierre hitting .345 on the season. He hits the next pitch in the air to center field, but Dave Gallagher in his tracks right there to make the catch for the first out. So 1 out on 2 pitches here in the top half of the first inning, and that'll bring up right fielder Rob Roy, who's hitting .331. A couple of homers and 29 RBIs. Romero, one of those guys you see more and more often who works from the stretch, regardless of whether there's anyone on base or not. Of course, Ramon is a reliever by and large, so I guess you figure if you're going to come into the game in a reliever spot, there might be guys on the bases, so you might as well be comfortable with it. A
lot of guys are going to that now, and it just depends on the individual, what he's comfortable with.
First pitch on the way, and it just misses the outside corner to Roy. .331 on the season. He'll be followed by center fielder Bill McGinnis, who's batting .381. But the Black Bears using wooden bats for the first time this season, and maybe for the first time ever for most of these players. 1-0 pitch is low and bounces off the glove of Buckley and rolls toward the third base side. Count now 2 balls and no strikes. Of course, the defense really not knowing how to play these guys, but they're playing them way around toward left, playing the left-hand batting Roy like a dead pull hitter as a right-handed batter. In fact, they're playing him like they were playing, who was it the other night, Jerry? They had him shaded all the way over. Lachelle Tarver.
Yeah.
Left fielder Dwight Taylor only about 75 feet off the line and left. There's a strike down the middle, says Terry Kraft, and the count now 2 balls and 1 strike.
And I came in the ballpark about 4 o'clock today, and the university team was over here. They were swinging the wooden bats out here with their coats and ties on. So I'm anxious to see exactly how they do react to having to swing the wood tonight.
Here's the 2-1 pitch. Low and outside, 3 balls and 1 strike now. What's Romero's bread and butter pitch? What's his most effective pitch, Terry?
He's a fastball pitcher all the way. He has an overpowering fastball when he's on, and he's able to move it around. But he does have a good breaking ball to go with that pitch, but his fastball is his bread and butter.
Count now 3-1 on Roy. Here's the pitch from Romero. Swung on and missed as he waved at the breaking ball, and the count now 3-2. Wind not really a factor tonight. It's shifting as it often does. Right now it's blowing sort of gently out toward left, and that too is a relief after the very stiff winds we've had almost every game here at the ballpark. Of course, the very warm temperatures makes it just a comfortable night to come out and enjoy the game. Roy do a 3-2 pitch. Here it is, and it's fouled away down the left side up toward the far end of the grandstand. So the count holds at 3-2. Roy's from Brewer, Maine, 6 feet, 180, one of the few seniors on this team. In fact, going down their non-pitching roster, he is the only senior, at least the only one I see on a quick scan. So that certainly bodes well for the future of Maine baseball. There's a bouncer up the first base side, foul. What do we got playing first base, Jerry?
That's Pat Dempsey down there. He's giving that a shot tonight. See how he can play that position.
Well, since El Gato went to Mexico, Orlando Sanchez going to one of the Mexico City teams in the Mexican League, the guys really don't have a backup first baseman. They've been using Dwight Taylor a bit during infield just to give a little bit of a different look at first. But now Pat Dempsey and Kevin Buckley will split first base here this evening. There's a breaking ball low, ball 4, and the University of Maine has the game's first base runner. A 1-out walk to Rob Roy here in the top of the first inning. Obviously the first walk off Romero, who's appearing in just his 3rd game. He's worked a total of 1 inning, no hits allowed, but 4 walks and 1 strikeout. And as Jerry mentioned, he had trouble throwing strikes in his first outing with the guys. He faced 3 batters at Richmond and walked all 3. He also threw a wild pitch. Well, Tom Rose heading down to the bullpen already. He couldn't be getting ready, could he?
No, I don't think that's. I think he's just walking down there. I don't believe Doc would be having him up this quick.
Well, they want to get at least 4 innings, if not 5, out of Ramon Romero, and they'll certainly try to do that. Romero has gone to first once. Roy with the lead there. He's stolen 8 bases this year. There's a ground ball to short. That ought to be 2. Roan bobbles the ball, picks it up, quick flip to second. They'll get the force there, but no relay. So Roan mishandles the ground ball, but manages to keep it at his feet. And the quick flip to Noboa at second gets the force on Roy coming down, and McGinnis is on the force out. Well, Dan Roan played his first game at short the other night and winged one over the head of Jim Wilson at first, so maybe he's just a little bit not sure of himself at shortstop, although he certainly had a lot of experience in the infield through his minor league career.
Now, we were getting on Dan a little bit about that throw, but he is a very solid ball player, and he's going to make a big play for you.
Throw to first, and back standing up is McGinnis. Yeah, Dan Roan is a solid ball player. He can play anywhere. In fact, he's done well in left field the 2 times he's been out there. First pitch to McGinnis is up high, ball 1.
Now, I was glad to see that we got Dan this spring because he's probably has more hits off me than probably anybody in organized baseball, so I was glad to see him on my team.
Batter's catcher Bill Reynolds, a 304 hitter. A little quicker throw to first this time by Romero, and back standing up is McGinnis. Check the speed that McGinnis has. I'm looking for him on the statistical sheet here and can't find him right away. There's a pitch that swung on and missed for strike 1. A ball and a strike now on Reynolds. He's been in 50 of the 52 Black Bears games. Has 9 home runs. That's tied for the team leadership. Here's the set, and the 1-1 pitch. A curve at the knees for strike 2 call. We're in the top of the first inning. Crowd still coming in, although the line in the parking lot is all but gone. A lot of folks have decided to hike in, and there are about 50, 60 people on the driveway right now coming in. Hopefully they already have tickets or they're going to be in for an awful long stand. Count a ball and 2 strikes. Here's the set by Romero, and the pitch to Reynolds is a changeup high, and the count evens 2-2. Outfield playing him just about straight away, maybe a step to the right side. And Jerry Reed, I don't think too many of the Black Bear hitters are going to be played to pull here this evening.
No, I don't think so. You know, like I said, Ramon does have an overpowering fastball, which
he just stood right there and struck him out swinging. So Reynolds is a strikeout victim, and Romero steps down the side in almost order. No runs, no hits, no errors, a walk, and 1 left in after 1/2 inning of play here at the ballpark. The score, the University of Maine, 0, with the Guides coming up.
Dear Pepsi-Cola, I have a question I hope you can answer.
Season has appeared in 11 games. He's 5-0 with 1 save and has an ERA of 1.99. He's from the town of Bath, Maine. A tall right-hander, 6'4", and 185 pounds. Sure, you normally associate height with pitchers. You think of the overpowering or ominous-looking pitchers as being 6'4", 6'5". How important is height for a pitcher?
I used to think it was very important, but you see these little guys come out here and throw the ball harder than the big guys do. So it's all an individual thing, you know, genetics or whatever. But the size really doesn't have that much to do with how hard you can throw.
Perfect example of that might be Tommy McCarthy of Pawtucket, who we'll see tomorrow, the reliever who probably threw about as hard as anybody has all season long against the Guides when we were down there in Pawtucket. He's only about 5'11", but he must have been throwing up around 90 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah, sure. And you see these guys come out 6'5", 6'6", and you think, oh, this guy's going to blow heat, and he comes out with an 83, 84 mile an hour fastball, which is a good fastball, but it's not overpowering by any stretch.
Well, here in the bottom of the 1st inning, left fielder Dwight Taylor, second baseman Junior Noboa, and center fielder Dave Gallagher will take a look at college pitching for the first time in quite a few years, if not the first time ever, in the case of Junior Noboa. Of course, most professional baseball players, if they went to college, were big stars, and now the entire University of Maine infield is going to meet on the mound and, I guess, give each other a little bit of encouragement. I wasn't prepared for that. I don't know if that's the usual routine for them, or if that's something that they decided to do tonight just to additionally psych themselves up.
Now, all this takes me back to my college days, you know, the rah-rah type baseball, but that's the way it's taught in college, and that's the way they have to play it. So, you know, they get each other pumped up that way.
Dwight Taylor hitting .212 on the season so far. Played in 24 of the Guides games, and the first pitch from Plummer coming in, and Dwight takes it inside, ball 1. A lot of the Guides hitting around the 200 mark, slightly above, but really in many instances it's an improvement over their performance of late, as the Guides have a team batting average in the 230s. 1-0 pitch in the dirt, skips into the glove of the catcher for ball 2, 2 balls and no strikes. Team batting average hasn't really gone up much, but some of the guys who were below 200 have been improving, while the guys who are up over 300 or 400 in some instances have been dropping down some. 2-0 pitch is a swinging and a miss, and Dwight Taylor, who's been stinging the ball pretty good lately, took a big cut at that one.
Now, I was talking to Dave Gallagher about the batting average. I think he's hitting .242, and it just depends on which direction you're coming from, if that's a good .242 or not, and he was very happy with his.
Well, he's one of those guys that was down under 200 for the longest time. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Taylor takes ball 3 just a little bit low, and the count now 3-1 on the speedy Taylor, who likes to get that leadoff walk if he can get it, and then play some games on the bases. Outfield straight away and medium in depth on Dwight. 3-1 pitch, low ball 4. So now Taylor, who's 7 for 9 in stolen bases, will be at first with nobody out, and the batter will be second baseman Junior Noboa. And boy, Jerry Reed, you can't say enough about this guy. He's been really the Guides' offensive late.
I used to think Junior was the type of hitter that you could knock the bat out of his hand if you threw a good fastball, but he has thoroughly impressed me this year. He's done nothing but hit the ball hard, so you know, he's a quality player.
And he's done an outstanding job on the field, too. He's made some dazzling plays at second base, and he's only committed a couple of errors. He's been out there almost every game. Batting .404. There goes Taylor on the first pitch. It's low and outside for ball. Throw to second base will be not in time, and Taylor steals it cleanly. Well, catcher Bill Reynolds' throw was there, but just a little bit too late. And Taylor steals it. He's at second with none out, and the count 1 ball and no strikes on Noboa. Of course, college pitchers won't get the good hold at first base that professional pitchers will, and with Dwight Taylor, it really doesn't take too much of a jump to get him going. Count a ball and no strikes. The infield sort of shallow at the corners. Taylor with a good-sized lead at second. Shortstop Bordick sneaking in behind him. Naboa fouls the next pitch back to the screen, and it bounces down to the on-deck hitter, Dave Gallagher.
A lot of times in a situation where you come in and have a game like this, the pitcher, like Dale Plummer, has a tendency to maybe try to do a little bit more than he's used to doing, and doesn't have quite the control. He's only thrown to 2 batters now. I'm not trying to say that's what he's doing, but it's he'll take it a little time to settle down.
Here's the 1-1 to Junior. Inside on the... Oh, no, it's off the corner for strike 2. Sorry about that. That one looked a little bit on the inside part, but maybe you're right, Jerry. Maybe Terry Kraft's going to call a wide strike zone and encourage the batters to swing. Terry normally calls a pretty tight strike zone. 1-2 pitch. There goes the runner for third. Bounce toward third. It's going to be off the glove of the third baseman Overstreet. Here comes Taylor to the plate. Here comes a throw from the shortstop, and it's not in time. Heading for second, Naboa. The throw to second, and Junior will be out at second base. Well, that I'm sure will be an error on Overstreet. But again, some more of that aggressive base running the guys have shown lately, willing to take that extra base.
Hey, our base running has been phenomenal about the last 5 games. I mean, it thrills the pitchers to see this, because it's a run that you don't expect to get, and all of a sudden you've got it. So it makes it a whole lot easier on us.
6-2-4, retiring Naboa at second. Base is empty with 1 out. The pitch to Dave Gallagher. A knee-high strike, 0-1. And as you mentioned, Jerry, Dave's really been swinging a good bat lately, and it's certainly great to see because he's played just as solid as can be in the outfield. 0-1 pitch. Shot slowly up the third baseline, but it'll trickle foul, and it'll be 2 strikes on Gallagher.
No, Dave's made some plays in the outfield as good as I have ever seen. I've been around this game for about 8 years professionally now, and he's just made some phenomenal plays, some game-saving plays.
And, of course, one leaps immediately to mind, that over-the-shoulder catch he made off Blocker a couple of nights back for Tidewater. Here comes the 0-2 to Dave. Well hit, left field, straight away. LaPierre going back at the wall, looking up, it's gone. A home run for Dave Gallagher. Well, Dave has found that home run swing lately. He had a couple last week, and there's a long drive to deep left to make it 2-0. Of course, it won't count in the home run statistics, but that's his 4th on the season. And that'll bring up shortstop Dan Roan. Dan's not a big guy, Jerry, but he's certainly a guy you'd like to have on your side in the fight, didn't he?
Oh, he is a gamer. He's a scrapper, and he'll get on base any way he possibly can.
Great batting eye, too. First pitch from Plummer coming in. Runs up the bunt, takes it for a strike, 0-1.
Now, I made the comment a while ago, he has more hits off me than anybody else I've ever seen, and that's the truth. It didn't matter what I threw him, what the weather was, if it was dark or light, he hit the ball hard.
1-0 pitch, grounded past the mound, up the middle, near the second base bag. The shortstop Bordick flags it down, throws low to first. But coming up with it cleanly is Bernardo for out number 2. So 2 outs now with 2 runs in on 1 hit. And that'll bring up designated hitter Benny Ayala. And Benny has shown signs lately, Jerry, of getting his bat out in front of the plate to make contact with the ball, and he's hit a couple of long blasts in the last few nights.
Well, his first couple of games, he was really feeling for the ball to plate, and he's been coming out and taking extra BP every day, and he's really starting to hit the ball well.
First pitch from Plummer. High fly ball. He got under that one a bit, I think. Drifting back toward the wall is LaPierre. Near the warning track, he's under it, and he will make the catch for the final out. But that was very nearly another one out of the park, as Ayala got under it just a little bit. The Guides scored 2 runs on 1 hit, the home run by Gallagher, 1 error, and nobody left on base. The score after 1 inning here at the ballpark, it's the Maine Guides 2, the University of Maine Black Bears 0.
What makes a fuel
When you're looking for quality outdoor...
University of Maine fight song here, and about half the crowd standing and applauding. So that gives you a pretty good idea of where the loyalties lie in this particular game, Jerry Reed.
Well, I think a lot of the people think that the Black Bears are the underdogs, so I don't know. It just see how the game goes and see if the crowd stays like this.
Well, it's sort of a party atmosphere, as you mentioned earlier, and it's really not important who wins this game. Really, the Guides should win, and should win rather easily. They're really, they're not in the same class, but as you mentioned during the pregame show, on any given night, anything can happen. It's just one of those things. First pitch to Dan Kane is grounded towards second baseman Junior Naboa. He's got it on about the 4th hop, and his sidearm throw to first will be the first out here in the top of the second inning as Dan Kane, hitting .361 on the season, rounds out the second.
Now, both of these teams are out here trying to keep from getting embarrassed and do not want to embarrass the other one. So some of the college guys are wanting to impress some of the people here that might have a say-so on their futures. So it's important for both teams.
First baseman Rick Bernardo now stepping in. He's hitting .383, and the first pitch to the left-handed batter is a big breaking curveball up high, ball one. 1 ball and no strikes on Bernardo. He's from Troy, New York, one of the few players. I think there are only 2 from outside New England on this University of Maine team. 1-0 pitch. That's in for a strike, and it's 1-1. Dan Etzweiler, who is not in the lineup right now, a sophomore from Allentown, Pennsylvania, the other one. Everyone else is from New England, and most are from northern New England. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bernardo will be followed by shortstop Mike Bordick. Here's the pitch. Curve in for strike 2 call. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Oh, Romero looks pretty sharp. He struggled a little bit with his control of the second batter, walking him on a 3-1 pitch, but he's been in the strike zone about 3/4 of the time since then.
No, when Ramon is on, he can definitely just shut a team down.
1-2 pitch, a beautiful breaking ball for a called strike 3. And Bernardo, who looked around quickly in surprise perhaps at the quality of the pitch, then trots to the dugout, not arguing a bit with the call. Second strikeout for Ramon, and that'll bring up shortstop Mike Bordick. One of only 3 batters in the lineup with a batting average on the season under 300. He's hitting .289. Romero from the stretch delivers, and it catches the outside corner, strike 1. 2-0 Guides. We're in the top half of the second inning. The University of Maine Black Bears batting. And we still have a few folks trickling in. The ballpark is just jammed full right now. 0-1 pitch is fouled away up over the grandstand, out of play. And the count will be 0-2.
I think the real difference between the professional and college pitching is probably the amount of breaking balls that a professional pitcher is able to throw over the plate as compared to a college pitcher. They usually just throw the fastballs for strike, and every once in a while get the breaking ball over. But when you get to this level, you're going to have pitchers that throw that breaking ball for strikes very consistently.
Now, there was a quote in Baseball America recently, I don't know if it was the last issue or the issue before, that said that the team that wins the College World Series wouldn't win 25 games at the AA level. 0-2 pitch is a fastball outside, 1 ball and 2 strikes. And again, that goes back to what you said, Jerry, about game in and game out. A professional team should beat a college team, but on a 1-game basis, you never know what will happen.
Oh, yeah. You can't tell from just 1 game. It's having to play every night for 140 games to see how things go.
Next pitch is an off-speed curve up high, and the count now 2 balls and 2 strikes on Bordick. And if he gets aboard, third baseman Jim Overstreet will bat.
No, Cleveland played the University of Arizona in spring training. They beat us 13-2, and I mean, they kicked us around real good. But you play every night, and it's going to be a different story.
There's a high bouncing ball toward the shortstop row. Bare hand pickup, and it skips away from him as it caroms off the bare hand, and that should go as an infield single, I would guess, as that one took a bad hop off the lip of the grass, and Dan couldn't come up with it.
The only chance that Dan's going to have on that play is to come up with it bare hand. That's a very tough play, and he made a good attempt at it, but you're not going to see that play made very many times.
So a 2-out base runner for the Black Bears, and it brings up third baseman Jim Overstreet, hitting .281 on the season. Right-handed batter against the left-hander Romero. Overstreet from Stoughton, Mass. Played in 44 games so far this year with a couple of homers, 21 RBIs, and he swings at Romero's first pitch and doesn't get it. Strike 1. Up here in the press box, you feel the wind blowing in a little bit, but looking out at the flags in left center field, they're not stirring much. Certainly not in comparison to what we've had most of the year. Infield back with 2 outs. Runner leads at first and draws a throw. He's back standing up. Pat Dempsey, for perhaps the first time this year, using a first baseman's mitt. Normally a catcher, he's filling in at first base just to get some experience there.
Now, he took some ground balls down infield, so I'm anxious to see just how he does handle that position.
Here's the 0-1. Inside at the knees, and the count now 1 ball and 1 strike. I'll tell you what, it may get by him, but I don't know if it gets through him.
I don't think so. He is a scrapper. He's really impressed me behind the plate. He's a go-get-him 24 hours a day.
1 ball and 1 strike. Here's the set and the pitch. Line drive into shallow left. Taylor coming on. He's going to glove it about belt high for the final out. Good running catch in shallow left by Dwight Taylor, retiring Overstreet and the Black Bears here in the top of the second inning. No runs, a hit, no errors, and one left after an inning and a half here at the ballpark with the crowd still coming in. The score still Maine 2 and the University of Maine nothing.
Sooner or later, someone will offer your children some kind of drug. Marijuana, maybe even cocaine. You can't stop that.
Kevin Buckley, third baseman Shaney Dugas, first baseman Pat Dempsey. All three of those players will play a different position later on in the game. Buckley will go from the catcher spot out to first base. Dugas will shift from third to short later on. And Dempsey will go from first base to catcher. And that's probably one of the better things about this exhibition game as far as the guys' players are concerned, Jerry Reed, just to give the guys a little bit of work who haven't had much. And Barry Evans will be coming in later in the game, and he'll get some more swings against the live competition. And that's got to help guys who haven't had an awful lot of playing time.
Oh, sure, you can't really do this during the season, but a game like this, like you said, gives us that opportunity.
First pitch to Kevin Buckley is fouled down the right field line out of play. And the count's 0-1 on Kevin, who's must be a little strange right now, batting against the University of Maine pitcher after catching and playing with them for 4 seasons under Dr. John Winkin. 0-1 pitch, he waves at an off-speed curve and doesn't get it. 0-2.
I'm sure it seems strange for Kevin, but, you know, it's not the same people he played with. You know, his teammates have gone on to other things, so it's a whole different ball game for him.
Here comes the 0-2 pitch from Plummer. Fouled off the fists back toward the roof boxes out of play. Maybe into a roof box. Somebody made a catch anyway. Count still 0-2 on Buckley as the tall right-hander Plummer gets his sign from catcher Reynolds. He's into the windup, the high kick and the pitch. Breaking ball, foul back again. And that one either went into or bounced off another roof box. Did you bring your glove with you?
Geez, I have a window I'm going to pull down here if this one comes back this way.
Count still 0-2. Outfield straight away and deep on Kevin. Plummer into the windup. Here's the pitch. Swung on and chopped up the third base line. That's foul by about a foot as it passes the bag. Count will continue 0-2 on Kevin Buckley. He's a New Englander who went north to play at the University of Maine from Braintree, Massachusetts, in the Boston area. And that's one of the things you really have to admire about John Winkin. Not only has he developed an outstanding baseball program, but he's done it in an area where most of the good baseball players look south to play their college baseball. 0-2 again. Ooh, high and inside, that almost hit him. And Buckley sits down quickly.